The Hartwell mansion stood like a fortress of glass and stone on the edge of the city, silent, perfect, and cold, much like its owner. Alexander Hartwell was a man who had conquered boardrooms, markets, and rivals with ruthless precision. Yet every night, as his car rolled through the iron gates of his estate, he felt the same quiet dread tighten in his chest. Inside that mansion waited the only problem money had never been able to solve: his twin children. Liam and Leo Hartwell were only 7 years old, identical in face but terrifyingly united in mischief, and in the last 3 years, they had driven away 12 nannies. Some quit crying, some quit angry. One quit without saying a word, leaving her uniform folded neatly on the kitchen counter, like a white flag of surrender. The staff whispered about the twins like they were a curse. Clever beyond their years, silent when watched, and cruelly creative when left alone. Alexander had tried everything: higher pay, stricter rules, background checks, even child psychologists, but nothing worked. Every caregiver left within weeks, some within days. And now, standing in his study with his assistant nervously flipping through a tablet, Alexander was being told that the last nanny had resigned effective immediately. She said she can't do this anymore, sir," the assistant said carefully. She wouldn't explain. Alexander closed his eyes slowly, pinching the bridge of his nose. Outside the study door, faint laughter echoed down the hall, soft, innocent laughter that made the truth even more unsettling. "Fine," he said at last. "Cancel the nanny agency. We'll manage." But they didn't manage. The mansion began to feel like a battlefield disguised as luxury. Tutors refused to return. Play therapists requested reassignment. Even the head housekeeper, who had worked for Alexander's family for decades, quietly asked to be transferred to another estate. And in the middle of all this chaos moved someone no one paid attention to: Elena. She was the new maid, recently hired through a small domestic service company, quiet, plain, always keeping her head down. She cleaned the floors, polished the mirrors, folded laundry, and spoke only when spoken to. Most people barely noticed her, and those who did assumed she wouldn't last long either. After all, if trained professionals couldn't handle the twins, what chance did a simple maid have? The twins noticed her immediately. From the first day, Liam and Leo watched Elena with sharp, calculating eyes. They tested her the way they tested everyone, hiding sharp toys in the hallway, spilling water near the stairs, whispering lies to see if she'd panic or yell. They waited for the reaction they always got: fear, anger, tears, but Elena did none of that. When she found the traps, she simply cleaned them up. When the boys laughed from behind the corner, she smiled, not a forced smile, but a calm, knowing one that unsettled them. That smile alone made them uncomfortable. People weren't supposed to smile at them like that. People were supposed to break. One afternoon, Alexander came home early from a meeting that had been abruptly canceled. As he stepped inside, he braced himself for the usual chaos: shattered vases, shouting staff, alarms triggered for no reason. Instead, the house was quiet. Too quiet. His instincts screamed danger. He moved quickly down the hall toward the playroom, where he expected to find destruction, but what he saw stopped him cold. Elena was sitting on the floor, legs crossed, a pile of building blocks between her and the twins. Liam and Leo sat across from her, silent, focused, listening. Actually listening. Alexander had never seen that before. The twins weren't plotting. They weren't smirking. They were calm. Elena was telling a story, her voice soft but steady, about two foxes who lived in a forest and believed the world was their enemy until they learned it wasn't. The boys didn't notice. Alexander standing there watching in disbelief. For the first time since his wife's death, the mansion didn't feel hostile. It felt human. Alexander stepped back quietly, disturbed by what he'd witnessed. Who was this woman? What had she done in just a few days that no expert could do in years? That night, as he reviewed security footage, a habit he'd developed out of paranoia, he noticed something else. The twins followed Elena, not openly but subtly. They helped her without being asked. They stopped their usual tricks around her. And when one of them accidentally scraped his knee, it was Elena they ran to. Not the staff nurse, not their father. Something was happening in his house. Something he didn't understand. And Alexander Hartwell hated not understanding things. But the real shock came 3 days later. One of the twins, Leo, locked himself in the storage room during one of his usual games. Normally, this would escalate into panic and screaming within minutes. But this time Elena sat outside the door and spoke calmly. Not threatening, not pleading. She told him about fear, about being alone, about how sometimes people hide because they think no one wants them. The security team prepared to break the door. Alexander stood watching through the monitor, his heart racing. Then the door opened. Leo stepped out, eyes red, and hugged Elena tightly. Hugged her. Alexander felt something collapse inside his chest. That night he summoned Elena to his study. She stood respectfully, eyes lowered, expecting criticism or dismissal like so many before her. "How did you do it?" Alexander asked quietly. Elena hesitated. "Do what, sir?" "My sons," he said. "They don't respond to anyone." She looked up then, meeting his eyes with a calm strength that surprised him. "They're not bad children," she said gently. "They're hurting." That single sentence hit Alexander harder than any accusation ever could. He dismissed her without another word, but long after she left, he remained in his chair, staring into the darkness. For the first time, Alexander began to wonder if the problem had never been the nannies, or even the twins. And as the mansion settled into an unfamiliar peace, one truth lingered in the air: Elena was not just a maid, and whatever she was doing was about to change everything. If this story has pulled you in so far, if you feel there's something deeper waiting to be revealed, then make sure you subscribe to the channel, because in Chapter 2, the truth behind the twins' behavior and Elena's shocking past will come to light in a way no one could ever expect.